Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates National Youth Festival in southern Indian state of Karnataka, says youth hold the key to future of economy. World's longest river cruise MV Ganga Vilas to be flagged off on Friday. Sri Lanka's central bank urges India and China to reduce its debt as the country defaults on debt repayments. Peru families mourn death of protesters after worst violence in decades. Australia pulls out of Afghanistan cricket series over women's rights. And in cricket, India beat Sri Lanka by 4 wickets and clinched series 2-0. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called upon Yuva Shakti to be the driving force of India's journey during the Amrit Kaal to transform India into a developed country in the next 25 years. He was speaking after inaugurating the 26th National Youth Festival at Habali in North Karnataka on Thursday. Saying that the present generation of youngsters are special, the Prime Minister said that they have a special mission of making an impact for India on the global scene. He reminded the youngsters of the inspiring message of Swami Vivekananda, who gave a call to be awake and arise for the good of the country. He pointed out that a strong foundation is laid for the younger generation when optimism and opportunity are coming together. In the last 8 years, the economy and education, with the help of national education policy, are gaining strong foundation. There is encouragement to talent and skill development. There is innovation and technological growth. The startups are doing well. Global investors are keen on investing in our youth. From toys to tourism, defense to digital, India is making headlines across the world. Hence, he called upon the Yuva Shakti to make positive disruption to overtake even the most advanced country in the world. He emphasized that the youngsters of today must have futuristic thoughts and approach. The Prime Minister also mentioned about the Nari Shakti, as women are playing the combative role and serving as fighter jet pilots. In every part of India, there are an unbelievable number of examples of talent and capabilities of our youth. From maths to science, when competitions take place on global platforms, the talent of Indian youth amazes the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will flag off world's longest river cruise MV Ganga Vilas and will inaugurate Tent City at Varanasi on Friday at 10:30 a.m. via video conferencing. He will also inaugurate and lay the foundation stones for several other inland waterways projects worth more than Rupees 1,000 crores during the event. MV Ganga Vilas will begin its journey from Varanasi on 13th of January and travel around 3,200 kilometers in 51 days to reach Dibrugarh in Assam via Bangladesh, sailing across 27 river systems in India and Bangladesh. Our correspondent reports that on the eve of the launch function, a Grand Curtain Raiser cultural program, Sur Sarita, Symphony of Ganga, was organized at Kashi Vishwanath Corridor in Varanasi. Chief Minister of Central Indian State of Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, informed that a total of Rs 15,42,514 crore intentions of investments have come in the Global Investors Summit, which concluded in Indore on Thursday. He informed that about 29 lakh people will get employment through proposals, as industrialists have shown most interest in the energy, agriculture and mining sectors. Ambassadors and consulate generals of 35 countries and delegates of 84 countries were present in this summit. Addressing the closing ceremony, Shri Chauhan announced the launch of Invest MP portal for the convenience of the investors. He said that this portal will start functioning from January 26th. The Chief Minister said that now for 3 years from the establishment of the industry, no competent officer will inspect those industries which have got DEEM approvals. Similarly, industrialists who have got land in the identified areas will not have to take any permission to set up industries. External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Jaishankar on Thursday said that search for solutions to crises like COVID, food and energy security do not give due weight to needs and aspirations of the Global South. Addressing the Foreign Ministers' session of the Voice of Global South Summit, Dr. Jaishankar said those who were promised an interconnected world now see a world with higher walls, insensitive to social needs and discriminatory in its health practices. He stated that India stands for three sensitive shifts in its case for a Global South-sensitive model. He elaborated that these shifts include moving from self-centered globalization to human-centered globalization and from debt-creating projects to a demand-driven and sustainable development cooperation. He said, going from being on receiving end of tech patronage to deploying Global South-led innovations for societal transformation is one of these shifts. Dr. Jaishankar said India would work towards decentralizing and de-risking globalization. This would offer greater opportunities to more nations, a stronger desire to foster localization, improve connectivity, and reconfigure supply chains to ensure economic security. He asserted that India stands ready to share its experiences and expertise, including game-changing digital public goods in universal identification, financial payments, direct benefit transfer, digital health, commerce, industry, and logistics. Guyana President Dr. Mohammad Irfan Ali invited Indian business community to invest in his country as the opportunities are enormous. Addressing India-Guyana business meeting in New Delhi on Thursday, the visiting dignitary said Guyana is ready to simplify process to enable private sector to invest. He added that Guyana has been blessed with natural resources. He said his government is making all efforts to make Guyana the #1 eco-tourism facility in the world. He invited Indian private sector to invest in the opportunities arising out of this. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has said that Bangladesh welcomes India's vision as the president of G20 to ensure inclusive development under the theme One Earth, One Family, One Future. Virtually addressing the inaugural Leaders Session of the Voice of the Global South Summit 2023 organized by India on Thursday, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina thanked the Indian government for inviting Bangladesh as a guest country to G20, which would give them a unique opportunity to engage with their counterparts across the globe. She also congratulated Prime Minister Modi for assuming the presidency of G20. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said Bangladesh is committed to contributing in Prime Minister Modi's robust initiatives to quicken human-centric development in association with the global leaders, reports the official news agency BSS. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary. Power and potential of Indian diaspora would be a force multiplier.
The President of India, Ms. Draupadi Murmu, graced the valedictory session of the 17th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention and conferred the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards at Indore, Madhya Pradesh. Addressing the gathering, the President said the Indian diaspora today has become an important and unique force in the global system. It has grown into an energetic and confident community in every region and is making stellar contributions to world affairs in leadership positions. Our diaspora has exhibited extraordinary dedication and hard work and has overcome many challenges to achieve excellence in all walks of life, including art, literature, politics, sports, business, academics, philanthropy, science and technology. The President said that over the last 2 decades, the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention has served as a unique platform to enable fruitful engagement between the government, people of India and the diaspora. The Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards symbolize the nation's highest recognition of the diaspora members for their contributions to India and in their home countries. These awards are significant as they not only show our appreciation and acknowledgement of the achievements of the Pravasis but also reflect our faith in their resolve to keep India's flag flying high in the world. Referring the theme of this year's Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention, Diaspora Reliable Partners for India's Progress in Amrit Kal, the President said that it reflects India's desire to make its diaspora a partner in the achievement of its national development goals. The President said the collective power and potential of the Indian diaspora would be a force multiplier in the nation's inclusive development. She urged each and every member of the diaspora family to become a full partner in this journey. She said they can contribute with their energy, experience, ideas, business acumen, investments, technical expertise and knowledge sharing to enhance our capacities to fulfill the vision of an Atmanirbhar Bharat. The President said the call of the soil of the motherland is something that transcends the barriers of time and distance. While the Indian diaspora has built enriching and productive lives in their adopted homes in different corners of the world, they would always hold a special place in our hearts, not only as extended family members, but as responsible stakeholders in India's development. President Murmu said the nation is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav on completion of 75 years of independence. These celebrations are dedicated to those who have played a key role in India's progress up to the present times and also to those who are instrumental in realizing our vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Therefore, there could not have been a better time to commemorate contributions made by the Indian diaspora. The President observed that in recent years the government has undertaken several initiatives for the benefit of the Indian diaspora. These are not only aimed towards welfare of those residing abroad, but also towards enabling you all to engage in the task of nation building. The Overseas Citizen of India and Person of Indian Origin card schemes have been merged and the visas for the OCI card holders have been made lifelong. We are also taking steps to enhance safe, orderly and ethical legal migration of Indian youth for overseas employment. New digital platforms are being used to address grievances and to help distressed Indian nationals, especially women and migrant workers. We have also undertaken massive evacuation exercises to repatriate Indians and Pravasis from crisis situations, including most recently in Operation Ganga in Ukraine. President Murmu observed that the world is facing challenging times today, with economic and geopolitical upheaval all around us. Amid all these challenges, India is engaging with the world with greater self-confidence and a wider goal of securing national interests. This can be seen in our strong relations with all major countries and our leadership on various global platforms. As you know, India is presiding over the G20 this year with the theme One Earth, One Family, One Future. This theme, inspired by our ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, reflects India's commitment to just and equitable growth for all in the world. In the next 25 years, India is going to embark on an ambitious journey of collective hard work, sacrifice and intensive development to transform into a self-reliant world leader by 2047, when we will be celebrating the centenary of our independence.
Union Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal said the India-US Trade Policy Forum has resulted into a smoother, friendly and trusted business environment for both sides to expand their trade and investment. Speaking to media after the conclusion of 13th Ministerial Trade Policy Forum TPF dialogue at Washington, D.C. on Thursday, Mr. Goyal said TPF, which was relaunched in a new form in November 2021, has become very robust. Goyal said both countries had a robust discussion on finding bilateral solutions to outstanding WTO disputes between them. He hoped for a satisfactory outcome in the next few months over these issues. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India has requested the United States to speed up the issuance of business visas so that people can undertake short trips to pursue their business and trade interests. Addressing a press conference after participating in the 13th India-US Trade Policy Forum in Washington, he said that issuance of business visas, which is taking a long time back home in India, is an area which needs to be expedited so that investment does not suffer. Mr. Goyal underlined that the movement of professionals, students, skilled workers, investors and business travelers is expanding between the two countries. Mr. Goyal was on an official visit to New York and Washington, D.C. to participate in India-US Trade Policy Forum. His visit included delegation-level talks and a one-to-one meeting with U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Catherine Tai. This request to expedite business visas comes a week after State Department said that the U.S. Embassy and consulates in India have broken their record as nearly 125,000 student visas were issued in the fiscal year 2022. Food and Safety Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, has notified comprehensive regulatory standards for basmati rice for the first time. These standards will be enforced from 1st of August this year. Union Health Ministry said the standards are aimed at establishing fair practices in the trade of basmati rice and protect consumer interest, both domestically and globally. As per these standards, basmati rice shall possess natural fragrance characteristic of basmati rice and be free from artificial coloring, polishing agents and artificial fragrances. Basmati rice is a premium variety of rice cultivated in the Himalayan foothills of the Indian subcontinent. Basmati is a widely consumed variety of rice both domestically and globally, and India accounts for 2/3 of its global supply. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. Governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Nandalal Veerasinghe, has urged China and India to agree to a write-down of their loans to the crisis-hit island nation. Mr. Veerasinghe said that quick action would be in the interest of all parties and will help Sri Lanka to start repaying the dues. A formal dialogue on reduction of debt with the creditor nations has not been initiated so far. Sri Lanka is in negotiations with the International Monetary Fund for $2.9 billion bailout package, which will not materialize until the creditors have agreed to restructure Sri Lanka's debt. Colombo owes China over $7 billion, which accounts for over 19% of its overall external debt. The governor said that once agreement from bilateral creditors has been agreed, the IMF funds could be distributed to Sri Lanka within 4 to 6 weeks. China has been under criticism for not showing interest contrary to its claims of being Sri Lanka's true friend. At the same time, Chinese projects have been under fire from several quarters for landing the Indian Ocean country into a debt trap. Beijing is reportedly reluctant to write down Sri Lanka's debt because of possible implications to loans it has extended to other developing countries. However, Paris Club nations had last month called for a solution with debt moratorium of 10 years and another 15 years of restructuring. Sri Lanka's Supreme Court has ordered the government to pay 10 lakh rupees as compensation per person to those who were killed in the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks. Those injured in the attacks will be given 5 lakh rupees. The Supreme Court ruled that the respondents had violated the fundamental rights of the petitioners by failing to prevent the attack despite having credible intelligence information. The Supreme Court said the funds will be used to compensate the victims of the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks. Closely after the International Hindi Divas, the Indian High Commission signed the Memorandum of Understanding MOU to establish a Hindi chair at Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka. High Commissioner Gopal Bagle and Vice Chancellor of Sabaragamuwa University, Professor Udaya Ratnanayake, signed the MOU to establish the Hindi chair as part of India's Cultural Connect through Indian Council for Cultural Relations. The Hindi chair will help in familiarizing students about India, its history and culture, as well as pave way for popularizing Hindi by deputing Indian faculties. Mr. Bagle also gave away prizes to the winners of Hindi Kavita competition held at the university. In an attempt to keep expenditure in check, the Sri Lankan government has decided to cut the allocated budget of each ministry by 5%. Cabinet spokesman and Minister for Mass Media Bandula Gunawardene said that Treasury is facing a serious financial crisis beyond what was expected. He added that the government is not resorting to money printing or taking fresh loans as was done over the last 2 years. Lending agencies and the IMF have prohibited the island nation from further printing money. The budgetary cut has also been necessitated due to the delay in finalizing a bailout package with the International Monetary Fund. The crisis-hit country had sharply raised personal and corporate income taxes from 1st of January, in addition to a slew of measures to increase government revenue. Sri Lanka has been mired in one of its worst economic crises due to depletion of forex reserves, which triggered massive protests last year. At least 17 people have died in clashes between supporters of the former president and security forces in southeastern Peru, officials say. Dozens more were injured on Monday in the city of Juliaca in some of the worst. According to reports, the protest erupted a month ago when Castillo was forced out of office following corruption cases and was arrested on charges of rebellion after attempting to dissolve parliament by decree. His supporters have been protesting and blockading roads for weeks. They say new President Dina Boluarte must go and want snap elections. The violence, a severe test for Peru's democracy, is the worst conflict since the late 1990s when the country was gripped by violence between rebel group Shining Path and the state, which left 69,000 people dead or missing over 2 decades. Russia has replaced its military commander in Ukraine, putting Army Chief Valery Gerasimov in charge of its forces in the conflict. Russian Defense Ministry said that Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov will now lead special military operation in the Ukraine. General Gerasimov replaces Sergei Surovikin, who has overseen recent attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Defense Ministry said the decision to replace General Surovikin was aimed at organizing closer contact between different branches of the armed forces and improving the quality and effectiveness of the management of Russian forces. Meanwhile, the reshuffle comes as Russians claim they are making progress in eastern Ukraine after suffering of military setback in recent months. General Gerasimov, who has been in post since 2012, is the longest-serving Russian Chief of General Staff of the post-Soviet era. In Afghanistan, at least 5 people have been killed in a suicide bomb attack outside the Afghan Foreign Ministry in Kabul. The attack took place on Wednesday when the bomber failed to enter the ministry building itself. Several countries, including Turkey and China, have embassies in the area. The local offshoot of the Islamic State group known as Islamic State Khorasan Province ISIS-K claimed the responsibility of the attack. Kabul police described the attack as cowardly, adding in a statement that the perpetrators would be held accountable. Afghanistan has been rocked by dozens of blasts since the Taliban seized power last year, mostly claimed by ISIS-K. United States and Japan plan to boost military and security cooperation as their top national security officials held talks on Wednesday. According to media reports, weeks after unveiling plans to ramp up defense spending, Japan sent its defense and foreign ministers to Washington for talks on updating the decades-old alliance. The officials unveiled plans to strengthen the alliance to help counter threats from North Korea and China, which they call the greatest challenge in the region. Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi said that the United States and Japan together have a vision of modernized alliance to acquire the posture to win in the new era of strategic competition. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that the two nations try to deepen cooperation across all realms, including space, cybersecurity, and emerging technologies. The top officials who also agreed to adjust the American troop presence on the island of Okinawa. Russia will launch a rescue vessel to the International Space Station next month to bring home 3 crew members who are in effect stuck in orbit after their original capsule was hit by a meteoroid. The docked Soyuz MS-22 sprang a major leak last month, spraying radiator coolant into space and prompting a pair of cosmonauts to abort a planned spacewalk. Russian space agency Roscosmos said that the strike caused no immediate threat to the crew of the space station. The Roscosmos said it has decided to bring forward a planned March launch of Soyuz M-23 to 20th February so it can be used to transport the Russian cosmonauts Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Petelin and the U.S. astronaut Francisco Rubio back to Earth. Space has remained a rare area in which Moscow and Washington have continued cooperation despite the Russian special military operations in Ukraine and consequent Western sanctions on Russia. World Health Organization WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has said that the organization's data on the number of deaths from COVID-19 worldwide is lowered due to the under-reporting of cases by China. During a media briefing in Geneva on Thursday, the WHO chief urged all countries to share true statistics so as to contribute to a more effective fight against the spread of the disease. Last week also, Mr. Tedros asked China for reliable data on COVID hospitalizations and deaths in the country. This comment came after WHO held a high-level meeting with counterparts in China to discuss the surge in cases and hospitalization. Back in December, the Chinese government dropped its zero COVID-19 policy towards the pandemic after almost 3 years, leading to a mammoth rise in cases in a matter of few weeks. Later in January, obligatory PCR testing and centralized isolation for people arriving in China were cancelled. Australia's men's cricket team has withdrawn from a series of upcoming matches against Afghanistan in protest over the ruling Taliban's restrictions on women and girls' education and employment, Cricket Australia CA said in a statement on Thursday. The teams were scheduled to play 3 one-day international ODI games in the United Arab Emirates in March, but CA decided to cancel the series after extensive consultation with several stakeholders, including the Australian government, the statement said. In December, the Taliban announced the suspension of university education for all female students. The move followed a decision in March to bar girls from returning to secondary schools following months-long closures that had been in place since the hardline Islamist group took over Afghanistan in August of 2021. In cricket, chasing the target of 216 runs, India registered a comfortable win by 4 wickets in the second ODI against Sri Lanka at Eden Gardens in Kolkata. With this win, India has sealed the 3-match series by winning the first 2 matches. Earlier, in the first ODI, India defeated the visitors by 67 runs. The Sensex and the Nifty on Thursday logged losses. Index of top 30 companies at Bombay Stock Exchange ended below the 60,000 mark. The index of top 50 companies at a National Stock Exchange closed below 17,900 level. The rupee appreciated marginally by 2 paise against the US currency. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex fell 147 points to settle at 59,958. The Nifty also slipped 38 points to finish at 17,858. Among the global stock markets, world stocks witnessed modest gains on cautious optimism that US data will confirm inflation is softening. Asian share markets traded in a narrow range and the yen rose amid report that Japan will review the side effects of its ultra-easy policy this month. Asian shares gained except Singapore's Straits Times, which slipped 0.1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng gained 0.4%, South Korea's Kospi rose 0.2%, and China's Shanghai Composite Index added 0.1%, while Japan's Nikkei ended flat. European shares were up in intraday trade. Oil rose more than 1%, supported by optimism over China's demand outlook and hopes that upcoming inflation data from the United States will point to a slower increase in interest rates. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $83.80 per barrel. Back home at the multi-commodity exchange, gold futures for February was trading at 55,845 rupees per 10 grams. Silver futures for March was trading at 68,660 rupees per kilogram when reports last came in. At the forex market, the rupee strengthened marginally by 2 paise to close at 81 rupees and 55 paise against the US dollar. Rajesh Lake for World News, All India Radio.
Now a quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates National Youth Festival in southern Indian state of Karnataka, says youth hold the key to future of economy. World's longest river through MV Ganga Vilas to be flagged off on Friday. Sri Lanka's central bank urges India and China to reduce its debt as the country defaults on debt repayments. Peru families mourn death of protesters after worst violence in decades. Australia pulls out of Afghanistan cricket series over women's rights. And in cricket, India beat Sri Lanka by 4 wickets and clinched series 2-0. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Morocco.
Vaishnav बढ़ाई जानी रे पर झुके उपकार करे तो ये मानन अभिमान नारी रे सकल लहू कमन सहुने बंदे निंदा न करे.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.